Okay, this video has been sitting in my brain for a while. I've been waiting for the best way to have this conversation with you guys as the audience, and I think we're here. I think I'm ready to have an informed and educated discussion with everyone here today. If you guys have looked at the thumbnail, it looks, and the title, looks like something along the lines of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kicking Digimon's ass. Something like that. Today's video is meant to be a discussion. Today's video is meant to be a comparison between two games, Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was at this moment last week at the Anaheim, California YCS stream that I decided it's time to make this video, because if true champion Steven threw up his Digimon gauntlet and went to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Side, you know there's problems, right? I kid, I joke. It's just really, really funny, but it did trigger something in my brain to get this video out sooner rather than later. So today we're going to have an educational and informed discussion on the ways that Digimon is actually surpassing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there are some wins, but how Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Konami is killing Digimon or Bandai. And I know some comments I'm gonna get. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a big 3-4 game. Digimon can't possibly compete. Oh, whatever, blah 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 blah. All these obvious arguments and comparisons. See, I don't buy that, because Digimon was pretty close to the top 3 list at one point in time, and then One Piece came out and all went downhill from there, basically. We'll get to that point too, don't worry. But today's video is going to be nothing but hard, cold facts. These are all objective things that I'm going to talk about today that are verifiable, researchable, quantifiable. There's nothing here that's made up. There's no feelings. There's no subjectivity. I'm just hitting you with the facts. And maybe I missed some facts, and if I do leave those in the comments. But I have a pretty exhaustive script and list here, as you guys can see. And did the Digimon is worse side has 3 times as many arguments as the Digimon is better side. And one final thing before we start. There are some people in my audience that are going to watch this video, that watch my videos, that just love Digimon unconditionally for one reason or the other. Maybe they love the IP. Maybe they love the people they met along the way. Maybe the card game really speaks to them as something that in their brain they enjoy. And I'm sort of part of that group. I still subjectively love Digimon. I really do. I love the market part of it, and I love the community part of it. But I used to love the card game part of it, and that's pretty much in the toilet now. And a couple other things as well. I know I'm not going to convince the people who have such a love, an unconditional love for Digimon. I can go through all these points and you'll say to me, yeah, Mario, you're right, because these are true things, but I still love Digimon. It still has a place in my heart. And that's fine. But for the people who are not those people, we have a lot to work on. And unless we diagnose the problem, we won't know how to fix it. And that's all that video is. All this video is. We can maybe take some parts of this as a community and work on suggestions on how to fix Digimon to make it more enjoyable for more people. And that is the point of today's video. It's a discussion. Feel free to say whatever you want in the comments, but let me know what you think. Of course, please like and subscribe, and let's get the party started here. So I want to talk about first what Digimon is doing well. Way better than Yu-Gi-Oh! Way better. Number 1 is the prizing. The prizing in Digimon is just better. Us Digimon players know what our prizing is for regionals. I don't need to bring it up right now. But for Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you play in a regional, your entry is 5 booster packs of the most current set. Top 8 gets a mat. Top 4 gets a deck box. And of course, you get an invite based on the number of people that are playing. Somewhere here is... Oh yeah, this. We'll talk about this actually in a second. But yeah, besides your invite, depending on attendance, top 8 gets a mat, top 4 gets a deck box. That's nothing. That's crap. You know it and I know it. Digimon is killing it in this field. Even if you look at the YC, the Ultimate Cup version of Digimon tournaments, the YCS, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, still, still, Ultimate Cups have more prizing that's worth it, sort of caveated, kind of, than Ultimate Cups. Sorry, than YCSs. Ultimate Cups have more monetary value in their prizing than YCSs. You do get an ultra rare prize card for coming first. You do get your YCS branded premium messenger bag, Nintendo Switch. You get invite if you come first, VIP status the next nationals, basically. Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series Top Cup playmat. That's first place, right? If you take a look, actually, before we do that, second place and third place also get a super rare version of the same price card. They also get a Nintendo Switch and an invite and a mat. Second place gets the premium messenger bag, whatever, and then it goes down from there. Like eighth place on Ultimate Cup gives you a lot of cards that are worth money. You get a Nintendo Switch, an invite, and a mat. It's just worse. Now, first place people here do say, in addition to prizes for the first place, the winner will receive complimentary travel and accommodations to the next World Championship qualifier, nationals, in their territory, North America, Latin America only. It's not bad. Like, that's cool. That's a fun first place prize if the tournament is part of that region. That's actually kind of nice. Digimon doesn't have that. But for the most part, Digimon is winning on prize support by a lot. If you look at the prize cards, right? This is the last season's prize card that you got all year last year for the YCSs. Super Rare Glutonia selling for $400. That's your second place and third place prize card. $400. The ultra rare version, the first place one, will go for a lot more, obviously, but the winner card always goes for a lot more. And then the current version, the current prizes here, there's no listings on them yet. They're new, but they'll drop too. That's how it is. So yeah, prizing, Digimon has it beat. Pricing of cards, Digimon is more budget than Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you need 3 of this card from Crossover Breakers, for example, if you want to play this deck. There are some decks you can build in Digimon that are the cost of a playset of this card, like Imperial, for example. Tier 1 decks, Mirage, Tier 1 decks that you can just build for the same price of 3 cards. Now, I will say that some Digimon Tier 1 decks can be more expensive, sure. I will also say that Digimon Yu-Gi-Oh! Has some budget-friendly formats as well with Tier 1 decks. But for the most part, Yu-Gi-Oh! Way more expensive. And then one final pro for Digimon. I'm actually, as a competitive player, a really big fan that your 512-person regional will only have top 16 gets invite to nationals. I'm actually a really big fan of that because it is more competitive. It makes it that much harder to get into. You have to play better, right? An X2 might not make it in a top 16 invite event. They might not. Whereas in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Event with 512 players, top 64 getting invite, you can probably more reliably sit in next to and get in, maybe even a little bit worse. As you can see here, based on the tournament structure, how many people you get, the invites go up. It's easier to get to internationals as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player than it is a Digimon player. But I think that that's something Digimon does better. Because it should be harder, in my opinion. That's a little more subjective. That's my only real subjective point. I said I wouldn't do any, but from a competitive player, as someone who strives for top competition, this is just a Mario point. Okay, fine. Now we get on to everything else. The Digimon is worse with section of my video. Number 1, the events. These are Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals. Look how many Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals there are. Like, yeah, it's just ridiculous. How many does Digimon get? It's laughable in comparison. Digimon has gotten better in 2024. I will give them that. Still nothing. Still nothing. And by the way, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does also do remote dual regionals as well, Discord server regionals. They do those. But again, you have more regionals in general as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player to go to than you do as a Digimon player. That's huge. People want to play the game at the highest level if they're going to play competitive. and they want to do it all the time potentially. You know, every weekend or most weekends out of a month. You're not necessarily guaranteed to get that as a Digimon player. It's just not. Not to mention IRL travel, always better, always more fun, always a real hangout with the homies. Objectively, that's always more fun than sitting in a webcam in your pajamas. The only way you might prefer that is if, money's tight, you can't really travel, then you prefer online. But still, a Digimon regional can happen every week, every weekend, but it doesn't. Yu-Gi-Oh does. So, more events, it's crazy. Another point, world points. I think games that introduce world points at their events are a lot, like, it gives you something else to work towards, right? It gives you a reason to keep playing the events. In Yu-Gi-Oh especially, because the price support's garbage. But maybe you get enough Worlds points to go to Worlds. That's really cool. It's a grind. It's an ongoing competition to try to do well with the Worlds points. I feel like people would like that in Digimon if there were world points. Again, a little more subjective, but it's better to have than to not have. And I'm certain that the person who maybe doesn't win nationals but has the most Worlds points going to Worlds, that person will be happy. That's just objective. That's just how it is. Oh, I get to go to Worlds? Cool. I'd feel that way. So I don't believe anyone else would feel any differently. So there is that. The next point, I didn't bring up any graphic for whatever, shipping delays. Rarely does it happen for Yu-Gi-Oh! Rarely. Rarely does it happen for Yu-Gi-Oh! But Bandai card games, Digimon, it's like a dime a dozen, especially if you are not in North America or Japan. You get fucked by Bandai in this sense. It's a terrible thing. It should not happen. Part of the reason why it happens is because, like, for example, here in North America, Yu-Gi-Oh cards do get printed in North America, whereas Digimon cards do not get printed in North America. They're all printed in Japan, I believe. I remember that correctly. And that really matters, because then you gotta ship and whatever, right? It sucks. It's a terrible thing. And it adds to the shipping delays. Bandai has the money to, like, go crazy, but they don't, because they do print to demand, which is another, I guess, con. Yu-Gi-Oh! Prints. Bandai does not. Bandai specifically prints what is ordered and a little bit extra, and that's it. That's it. So it's a different kind of secondary market. It makes it hard to get product, basically. That's the end all be all. It's the reason why some of your products sometimes, like BT16 and EX06, explode in price. That's just the way that is. It sucks. But that's how Bandai chooses to do things. Event coverage. Like, every major Yu-Gi-Oh event gets streamed, and gets streamed well, with high quality, great commentary from people that know what they're talking about. Yes, I'll throw True Champion Steven in the list. Yes, I will. But, yeah, like, people that know what they're doing, people that have their chops in the card games for sure. Good quality all around, backup matches ready to go, good stuff to do in between. Like, just the production value is so much higher on Yu-Gi-Oh! Than it is for Digimon. And you always know you'll get a stream. You don't always know that with Digimon. You simply don't. And, like, their communication with the fan base is better than Digimon. Like, this, for example, is the most crowning achievement. This was a really cool way to introduce a ban list, for example. This is what this whole thing was. This random guy, Jerome here, came up with a briefcase and had the banned Forbidden Limited list in it. That was really fucking cool to see. And, like, I'm not into major, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I was back in the day, but, like, it was really cool to see. And they communicate regularly. They send product to content creators, which Digimon used to do, by the way. Like, I remember getting a booster box from Bandai for BT5 and opening it on the channel. They stopped. Like, other Bandai games do it, okay. And you do get the rare content creator working with Digimon for Bandai directly. Like, for example, East had his 15-minute Nothing Burger video in Japan. That's better than nothing, but Yu-Gi-Oh does it so much better and so much more frequently. And it's a big. Not only is it advertising for Yu-Gi-Oh because people to see their favorite content creators open prod and talk about it and get it ready for the new set. It's just fun to watch. It's just entertainment value. Like, Digimon's lacking on that. It is what it is, comparatively. What else do we got going on over here? Well, online client. Yu-Gi-Oh has Master Duel. They have Duel Links. Digimon has shit fuck all. It's awful. It truly detriment. Digimon could do something. We know they can because they made Fusion World an online client. They just don't. They just don't. Yu-Gi-Oh continues to make anime for all the iterations of their card games, which is really cool. And they also release like actual console games for their card games as a way to also get people into the card game to learn how to play it. It's really cool. What did Bandai do? What did Bandai do? They made a webcomic. They made a webcomic. That's what they did. That's compared to all this? Nah. Nah. Do not even try to tell me that a webcomic is better than anime. Don't. I don't want to hear that. No. No, you can see the effort, the production of the anime, the console games. Night and day. Night and day. You might like Liberator. That's fine. But you can't say that it's better than this. It's just not. It's just not. Like, sorry. It isn't. That's a fact. It's a fact. Where's the Digimon trading card game Switch game? Where is the Digimon card game anime? Where is it? Hello? Like, anyway, moving right along. Next, I want to talk about skill. Skill. Okay. When Digimon came out in 2020, and through 2021, and through the first half of 2022, I would argue the Digimon card game was incredibly skillful. Like, way more than Yu-Gi-Oh! It was a great time. Like just mentally wonderful to go through. It was great. Felt good to play. Felt greater to win because you felt like you really earned those victories. Now it's not. It's just not. It's too easy to win. Too many solitaire strats. Like, oh, let me mill you out. Well, you have nothing you can do about it. And let me do my easy bake 1-2-3 Imperial combo to take all your security away. Or go on. Ancient Greymon or whatever. Talmon Loop. The list goes on. Now, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have its moments where it sucks. You guys might be familiar with cards like Dimension Shifter, which is a hand trap that you can open up that just basically says, nope. Or Nibiru, a very similar one. And other like floodgate hand traps that exist. When I saw that Bandai was introducing aces and hand traps into Digimon, I knew that it was the beginning of the end. And a lot of the hand traps in Digimon range from bad to amazing. You do a few broken ones in there. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. You do. But a main difference is that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Hand traps can be activated anytime, anywhere, almost, as long as it meets its conditions, whereas Digimon hand traps can only be activated through the battle, which is a big difference. So when you have a skill-based deck in Yu-Gi-Oh!, you can actually interact with it. Like, say what you will about hand traps, I personally hate them, but like, at least you have options. You can do something turn 1 on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, turn 2, turn 3 if they're going crazy. You might not be able to do that in Digimon. You can actually play the game on their turn. You can't do that in Digimon. I think if you're going to do hand traps, you either go all in or nothing. This half middle ground with aces sucks. It's no good for anyone, and it's really easy to out. Most decks in the format can out the card that becomes the ace before you attack. Like Mirage can bounce it. Gabu Bond bounces it. Ancient Garuru bounces it. Bounce, destroy, whatever. So many decks do it. It's crazy. It's insane. It's really easy to work around. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh players have to do their convoluted combos that don't have a memory gauge. By the way, I forgot that one. That's a win for Digimon, the memory gauge, because it prevents, in some cases, insane bananas combos that Yu-Gi-Oh has. That's a big difference. Now, some decks don't care about the memory gauge, like Lugumon doesn't give a fuck. Talmon Loop kind of doesn't give a fuck. Most purple decks don't really care about it. But like most decks do care about the memory gauge, and it prevents the Yu-Gi-Oh effect of big impossible boards to break, OTKs, whatever. But you still have them even with the memory gauge. It's like it's not that big of a deal. Instead of build a board turn one, can't out it, okay, lose turn two. Now you just lose to a turn three OTK because you can't interact with that anyway. Like it's splitting hairs. It really is. But going back to the skill base, like, when you're doing your combo, I will admit, like, Digimon doesn't allow complicated combos. It doesn't. Everything is so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yu-Gi-Oh combos can be like that. A big example of this was Spiral. I topped a regional when Magician Souls came out, and we had Spiral format for a bit there. But the Spiral combo was like 40 steps. And if they interrupted your combo with a hand trap, you had to on the spot kind of think of a way to move on with your life and build a decent board so you didn't lose the following turn. That doesn't exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry, Digimon. It's more solitaire. Yeah, if you don't open a hand trap against a spiral board or whatever, yeah, it is solitaire. I will admit that. I will concede that point to you. But at least you have a chance, right? I need to memorize your more complicated combos, and you have to plan for hand traps. You have to plan on what to do if you don't draw, like, if something happens. Not the same as in Digimon. It's not. Sorry. It really isn't. The only exception might be purple decks in Digimon. Like, they go pretty crazy sometimes. Some yellow decks do, some blue decks do. But besides that, nothing crazy. But, on that note, take a format like Tier 0 Tier Element. Say what you want about Tier 0, like it or hate it. I don't really care for this video. The Tier Element mirror was one of the most skillful mirrors I think Yu-Gi-Oh's ever had. And the reason why is because even on turn 0, let's say the opponent went first, they were doing the tournament play. If you're playing the mirror match, you could play Yu-Gi-Oh on their turn just as often as they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh on their turn. And it truly became like it didn't matter whose turn it was. It didn't matter. Both players were playing on each other's turns. It was a beautiful thing. I loved playing it. I didn't play any events. I wish I did. But like every tournament mirror I had was just so different every time, and you really had to think every single time. Because if you interacted at the wrong time, you could have lost. If you didn't do something that was important for the combo, you could have lost depending on what they had. Like, just so much craziness, so much back and forth on any player's turn. And this happens in other Yu-Gi-Oh formats as well. Don't pretend it doesn't. But like, it really happened in Tier Element format in 2022 or 2023, whenever it was. And it just doesn't happen in Digimon. It doesn't. The only thing you're doing on your opponent's turn is maybe playing an ace. Or maybe you have something that activates on their turns, like an all turns once per turn or something. That's it. You're not doing anything. Your card is doing the thing for you, and you're not having to really think about it. Just can't forget about it. You're not actually interacting. So, like, Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, might be the most skill-based card game of them all right now. Maybe not right this second. I think this format right now is pretty shit. But we're getting a new format, a new ban list, and I think it's going to be fine. Whatever. So there is that. Digimon, I think, used to be more skilled than Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's changed. That's just changed. Digimon's gone the way of solitaire, brainless combos. It's garbage. The last thing. See, Konami only has to worry about Yu-Gi-Oh. Konami can put 100% of their effort in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it will create phenomenal results, and it does. Digimon is trying to split between all of these card games. And with the exception of One Piece and maybe Union Arena at this current moment in time, Like, they're getting the shaft. They are getting shafted. Like, Digimon players are getting shafted because Bandai is not putting all their effort into Digimon like they used to. It changed with One Piece, and now the whole fucking the band's all here, and you'll never see that 100% dedication to Digimon because it doesn't exist. Because Bandai as a company has chosen that that's not a thing they're going to do. So you'll never get the full 100% that Digimon deserves because Bandai's decided they're going to be the multi-trick horse. What's the saying? Better to be what's the saying? Bandai is a jack of all trades but a master of none. That's the saying. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh! Konami is really mastering Yu-Gi-Oh! They put all their effort into it. That makes sense. This is a long video. This is a really long video. But this is an honest discussion from me to you, providing facts as of the current state of Digimon. And there are things you can do to fix Digimon. You can make an online client. You can release better IPs than a webcomic. You can introduce, worlds points. You can have better production value. Those are things you can do, right? You can have events every week. You can. They just have to hire more TOs or whatever. They're open to demand anyway. They can print more prize support. It's not a big deal, right? These are things that they can do. So hopefully, you guys take something out of this video, and whenever the next time Bandai releases one of their surveys for Digimon, you can kind of dump all over it and say, yeah, okay, this set is cool maybe, but there's so many bigger issues. Let's start fixing some of them. And maybe, just maybe, someone from Bandai is watching this video, and they take maybe even one or two of these points seriously and implement some changes. That would be a great thing to do. Unification is coming. I think that will help. We'll find out as we get closer to it. But that'll do. What do you guys think about this video? This very long, informative discussion comparing Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye!